Everybody, Brett from Stargate Gaming here, back with episode 4, well, part 4 of our Arma 3 modding tutorial series. And last time I promised you guys we would do some vehicles this time around, so that's what we're going to do. As you can see right here, I've got a template for the Hunter all ready to go. And I was kind of torn on how to show you guys this because there's two ways that I retexture vehicles. The first is essentially the same as the uniforms, where you've got one layer here that's cut out, and then another layer underneath it that you're gonna apply the camouflage to. When I do it this way though, I generally don't use the normal maps like I do with the uniforms. I use the base texture, but completely desaturated still. So that you, well, let's zoom in a little bit. As you can see on here, there's a lot of wear and things. So like, I'm not sure what that is. It looks like just some kind of buildup or whatever, dirt and grime and things like that. So if we were to use the normal map, those wouldn't show up. So that's why I generally use the base texture instead. Now if the base texture has camouflage on it, that can be kind of difficult. So in that case, you may have to use the normal map. But either way works. It's the same concept as the uniforms. It still works just as well. But there's one other way I like to do this, and the other way is a little bit of a shortcut. It doesn't always work, but I will show it to you guys anyways. And so I've got the hummingbird ready to go here, or the little bird, or whatever they call it in Arma 3. And so this way, we still use the base texture here, but we're also using the normal map. And so what I've done here is I essentially just sandwich the two. And so you can see it's still got all the detail. This is going to apply the detail over the top. And actually I need to erase the camouflage off those engine parts. That'll do. And so this is one way of doing it. I don't really recommend doing it this way. I use it sometimes, but not very often. But for stuff like this, like the hummingbird, where you're camouflaging the vast majority of the texture, it's a little bit more efficient. And so let me save this and export it again. But for now, I'm going to show you guys this one more time. So let's grab our camouflage that we've been using. We'll drop that in there. And then we need to hide this. And then we'll just stretch this across the top. Now, I sort of subscribe to the same ideals on vehicles as I do on vests and helmets, where less camouflage is going to be more. So only the flat areas. Think about it. If you were going to paint an MRAP camouflage, like yourself, if you were going to do this personally, are you going to sit there and paint camouflage on every little detail of the vehicle, or are you just going to do the big flat areas? Personally, I would just do the big flat areas. So all the little bits and things hanging off of it and the undercarriage, nobody's going to bother to paint those. So why texture them? So we're just going to do the big flat areas like the doors, the hood, the sides. And so we're going to do the same thing we've been doing, where we're just going to go to layer transparency, color to alpha. And we'll use like a middle gray tone. And so that's not too bad. I am going to lower this just slightly, just so it looks a little bit more faded, like that. And I'm pretty happy with that. If you want to, you can go and erase more of this if you want more camouflage to show. I have a lot of the trim, still the base color. You could also go select the top layer, go to hue saturation, and adjust this if you want it to be more green, or whatever color you want it to be. But keep in mind that the lights and things are on the same layer, so you might need to duplicate it and erase those. But yeah, so we've got the hunter here. So let's save this. and export it. And so obviously the texturing is going to be almost exactly the same as the uniforms are. That's not really the issue here. The issue is getting those textures into the game. And I think that's where a lot of people have trouble with vehicles. For just doing base retextures of Arma 3 vehicles, though, it's not that tricky. It's actually really straightforward. But when you get into like importing other vehicles, which is I think is what most people want to do, like bringing in the old Arma 2 Blackhawks and things like that, that's when it gets really complicated, because then you need to script the physics and the controls and things like that. And I'm not going to show you that in this video. I may do one later. I may have shown off my Blackhawk previously. If not, I guess I could show you right now. Let's see. Yeah, so here is a Arma 2 Blackhawk retexture I did for a mod I'm working on. It's a mod that incorporates some of the dinosaur packs, and so it's DinoCorp, and I made this custom tiger stripe camouflage for all the vehicles. You can see I've also got a different MRAP here that I've imported into the game. But yeah, that's going to be in another episode. So now that we've got this all set up, let's go ahead and jump into our config. And as you can see, our config's getting pretty long here. And I guess let's just recap everything we have in here really quickly. So this defines our mod right here. And obviously you can change this stuff around because it's your mod. This isn't going to affect anything down here. This defines the faction. So we've got it set to 3rd in the list, blue 4 side. And here's the slot for a custom icon if you want to put it there. Just put the file path that's in your PBO. Here is our custom patch that goes on our uniform's arm. And this just relates to the stuff down here. So then we have our basic soldier, our team leader, or the basic soldier with rolled up sleeves. And then here we have our combat lifesaver, who is the guy in the t-shirt. And keep in mind, this is all under config vehicles. And so obviously when we add the vehicles in, they're going to go under that same level in the list. So you can see we've got class B soldier F, class land vehicle, and then these are going to define them all. Before I go into more depth, let's just keep going through this to recap. So now we have config weapons, and that's why, again, there's no indent here. We're starting a new config, essentially. And so we've got the uniforms, long sleeve, rolled up sleeve, t-shirt. We have the vest, so the basic plate carrier, the smaller version of the plate carrier without the belt, and then, oh no, sorry, this is the smaller plate carrier without the belt. This is the one with the belt, and this is the one with the camelback or hydration pack. And then here we have the cloth covered helmet, and then this is the like lighter special forces protect type helmet. Okay, and yeah, so that's everything we've got in here so far. So let's go back up to the vehicles. And so as you can see here with the soldier, we define class B soldier F, and then down here we say class custom uniform is part of class B soldier F. That's basically what we're saying right there. And so as you can see with the vehicles, we're doing the same thing. So class BG Off-Road 01, that is the pickup truck. I've got a texture made for you guys for that. It's where is it? There it is. I'm not going to go into any depth on how I did this. It's the exact same as the helicopter. I'm just going to include the files for you, and you guys can take a look at it. But I did want to put this in here because it brings up something interesting in the config. So custom off-road F is part of BG Off-Road 01. And then the next one down here is the off-road, but with the M2 machine gun in the back. And so that's what these two are here. We're just saying custom off-road HMG-F is part of BG Off-Road 01 Armed F. That's all we're saying. And then we're defining stuff about it down here. And the same goes for BMRAP01, BMRAP01 HMG. Those guys are right here. That's just the hunter without a weapon, the hunter with the machine gun, and then if you wanted to, you could do BMRAP01 GMGF, and that would be the hunter with the grenade launcher. And then obviously at the very end we have B Heli Light 01, which is the Hummingbird, and that's down here. Okay, so what I was saying before about the off-road, if you've ever spawned an off-road in the editor, every one that you spawn is going to look slightly different. And that's because Bohemia Interactive has this script running, and it's just inherent to Arma 3. But anything like off-roads, the SUVs, the small compact cars, whenever you try to spawn them in the editor, they're always going to look different. They'll have a different color or slightly different loadouts to them. And so that's what this little bit is here. If you notice this, the rest of the vehicles don't have that. So this just goes right into the next one. But down here, it's got a class event handlers. What we're doing here is we're saying, Arma 3, stop that. We don't want random trucks. We want this truck. Because if you don't define this, you could spawn down this custom off-road F. The display name is going to be custom off-road 4x4. You could place one of those down, and it could be red, it could be blue, it could be your camouflage, it could be the independent camouflage. Arma 3 is just going to randomize it every time. And so what this little line right here is telling Arma 3 to do is it's saying, hey, you know that randomization script? Stop it. And so for any vehicle like that, you're going to need to have this in there if you want it to spawn consistently your camouflage. And so like I said before, that goes for like the off-roads, the SUVs, the compact cars. I think even the ATVs. I think the ATVs do it. But yeah, that's really all there is to that. Obviously, we've got the same basic information here. The crew, this is going to define... So when you place a vehicle in the editor, you have two different ways of doing it. You can place it from under the faction as a unit. And so when you do that, if you've ever tried it, a soldier or soldiers will generally spawn inside of it. And so that's what this is saying, is when you do it that way, this soldier is going to spawn in as the driver. And that's our basic soldier from up here, this one. You can change that to whatever. You can get a class name from an existing unit or a different mod and put it in there. It does not matter. Obviously, if you go to the empty list in the editor and spawn it that way, he's not going to show up. This is just for when you spawn it as a unit. And then the faction, we want it as part of our faction. So we've got our faction class name here. Display name, again, you can change that to whatever you like. Hidden selections, just camo. If you look at the hunter, there's camo 1 and camo 2. And actually, if this is just the... So this is the base, the metal parts of the hunter. This is the hunter adds CO. This is like the cloth canopy on the back. There's also a camo 3 that I don't have defined here that would be the gun. So if you want to do a retexture of the main gun on top, just add this, just like that, and then do another comma, and then in quotes put the file path to that. I didn't retexture the gun, so I'm just going to leave it as is. If you don't define a camouflage on a vehicle, and this goes for the soldiers too, if you don't define it like I have down there, or up here, if you don't define it, so if I only did camo 1 or only camo 2, this t-shirt would just be the default t-shirt essentially. Or if I only defined camo 1 here, then the pants would still be the regular independent pants, but we'd have our shirt texture there. So the way hidden selections work is if you don't define one, it's just going to revert to whatever the basic model has in Arma 3. And so we're going to ignore 3, Camo 3, and just let the gun look like it does in the default Hunter. So that's just about it. Yeah, we've got everything we need there. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll make sure all of our files, let's see, I have the Hummingbird base and I have the off-road base in here. We need to bring the Hunter over. This is the Hunter ads CO. I'll just show you really quickly. It's just the cloth canopy and then the tires and stuff. And so, I mean, obviously you could just retexture this really quickly. I'm not gonna, but it's really easy to do. You guys should be able to handle it. And so we want this one, Hunter base. So that right there. We're going to turn that into a PAA. If you don't know how to do that, go back to the, well, really any video. The first one I'll probably go into the most depth about it. So yeah, textview2.paa, we'll save it. And any second now. There we go. So we'll drag that over. And I have it in the config as Hunter underscore base CO underscore CO. Oops. There. So we should be done. Make sure I save this. Pretty sure I did. Okay. So let's take our custom uniform file and pack it back into a PBO. And there we go. And we'll go into our add-ons folder, and it's at custom uniform or whatever you decided to change it to. Then we'll replace the old PBO file. And now let's jump in game and make sure they're working. Okay, we're back, and I didn't get any crashes or bugs or anything, so if you did it exactly as I did, you shouldn't have had any either. Let's check the, I guess we could check the virtual arsenal. Well, I'm getting pretty low frame rate there. The virtual arsenal is still kind of buggy for vehicles, I've found. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. I guess we will find out. But if they don't show up in here, we'll check the editor and they should still show up in there. Let's see. It would be under C. I don't see it. Don't see it. Let's try the editor. If yours don't show up in there, there's not a whole lot you can really do. I've tried just about everything, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and I can't really figure out what I'm doing right and wrong. But yeah, let's drop in we'll just drop in a random soldier here. And if we go to our custom faction, now we have air and cars, where before we just had men. And so we'll drop in, we'll do the two with the guns, because guns are cool. My mouse doesn't want to scroll. There it goes. Actually, let's do empty versions. Now you see that they're there anyways. Let's go to empty, and they should show up here as well. So there's our hummingbird. We'll spawn it like right here, and then we'll do the Hummer, or not the Hummer, the Hunter, and the off-road pickup. Okay. And so as long as all of our textures and stuff are showing up, we should be good. There we go. Ooh. That didn't work. How about the, well, at least this worked. Well, it wouldn't be a modding tutorial without at least one mix-up. So like I was saying, you can retexture the gun if you want. It's under MRAP01 Crow's Nest or something. I think it's just crows, maybe. So let's see what we did wrong with the helicopter. I will hop out of the game and come back when we are out. Okay, we're back, and I think the issue is probably here. Let's check our file paths really quickly. That's not the right folder. It should be this one. So Hummingbird base CO. Let's do this just to be sure, although it looks right. Yeah, it was right. So I think this needs to be camo 1. So let's repack this. And we will cut. And this one. Okay, let's jump back in. Yeah, so I think I pointed this out in the first tutorial. It's not always clear what those are going to be defined as. Sometimes it takes a little bit of guessing and checking like we're doing here. With the hummingbirds, I'm not really sure that there's a camo 2. There might be, but at least not on the military one. The camo 1, the camo or camo 1 will cover the whole thing. But maybe the civilian one with the extra doors. No, I'm pretty sure the texture we did had rear doors too. But maybe there's a camo 2 that does like the rotor or something, I don't know. Anyways, sometimes you do need to guess and check those. Sometimes it's just camo, sometimes it's camo 1. There's really no way of knowing until you find out for yourself or you watch me screw up a couple times. So let's hop back in the editor, and that should have fixed it. Actually, this time we will just spawn as the helicopter. How about that? So here we go. And this time we should be pretty well camouflaged if I didn't screw multiple things up. Let's see. I don't know why it's doing that. It did that a couple episodes back too, and there wasn't any errors. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so it was just that little. Yeah, my scroll wheel isn't doing so well. And I'm locking up for some reason. Let's see, who's that guy in there? That looks like the guy I spawned as and the guy he spawned as are units from my Navy SEAL mod, which is interesting. I don't know how that happened. I don't think I have that file open. But yeah, there's the camouflage. If you want to, if you don't like this like weird shine, you can change the specularity files slightly so that it's not so like, it's like a weird matte finish kind of. You could also bump up the contrast, and that would help combat that a little bit. But yeah, there we go. So we've got three vehicles, probably the 3 most basic vehicles that you would need for a new faction mod that you were making. And that's really all there is to it. You could obviously there's different models of the Hummingbird. There's the civilian ones with the doors. You could do a couple different. Oh God, let me hop out and I'll show you what I'm talking about, because that'll be the easiest way to do it. It's the same concept as the the pickup truck with the machine gun, there's essentially a couple different versions of the Hummingbird model with the rear doors and the front doors and so on and so on. So you could do another one of these with the right class name. So it would probably be under like Heli Light Civilian or something. And you could just do another one of these, and that would, the same texture would already have the door texture on it, so you wouldn't need to do any more texture work. It would just be a matter of copy and pasting this with the right class name there and here. So actually, really quickly, let's see what was going on with that guy. I don't know. Anywho, that pretty much wraps it up. Next time, I think we'll do... God, I don't know. We might do some hex editing. And what I mean by hex editing is some older P3D models don't have hidden selections. And so if I were to, put it in the mod and say, hidden selection camo, I want this texture on it, the texture wouldn't show because there's no hidden selection to apply it to. And so the only way to get your texture to show on there is to actually open the P3D model with a hex editor and redefine the file paths located in the P3D model itself. And it's actually harder than it sounds because you cannot change the file size. And so all of your file paths have to be the exact same number of characters as the one already there. And that doesn't seem that difficult, but imagine trying to write a file path with already predefined folders and having to fit it in X amount of characters. It's a little bit tricky, and there's a lot of random garbage in there that you have to sort through, just like random symbols and things. It's a little tricky, but if you ever want to use like Arma 2 ported helmets, vests, vehicles, things like that, you're going to have to learn how to do it. So I think that's what we'll do next time. If there's something else you want to see instead, let me know in the comments and I will do that first. I plan on doing one of these a week until I run out of stuff, and then I'll probably go to doing some Arma 3 editor tutorials. But yeah, until I run out of stuff, I'll just keep cranking them out. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you back here for part 5. And I hope this really helps you guys out.